So that might be theory and production right now. That maybe Adam might have been skill to like skills and might be investigative limits for technical. Maybe Adam might have had a bit more to just skills through which that we might see how that she might be just that remark might have been the black book of Black might be that the case that we might have today. So certainly, it might be using that framework according to the framework, it might be using that black framework, that which might be the framework that like a good year might have taken out that the background and the black some sort of that and extremely powerful stuff might have been replicate that. That may be considered the premises that like that might have been the side of the door like a consequence for like using such extremely powerful like spell and the consequence might have been that like soon as that evidence might have taken off into maximum video and the step might have gotten taken. Something you might have been also that and after like the great number of years back in that the region person might have connected Gurian might have connected as letters only and all of that might be the consequence and that way that Julian might also be selected as letter body and then the different might be it might be like the offsprings of that the offspring that Julian that might be like under stuff well as like the discrepancy might be Julian so certainly rules on Julian in actuality might be Wednesday like granular might be like case certainly that way like I'm pretty sure that actually so it becomes a part of that marriage family, even if it's through marriage that is moved, or that might end up becoming the zombie might feel that it is that way. Or we shall for like marrying laws might end up becoming a zombie as well. Maybe like it is that so like the one in like that family might be zombies. In that state might feel that that's the case of like the body that is about the same. So like legal predator right now that like talk is like the relevant like might be having this that so leading all the way up to like the price can might be that to get like the basic of labor labor so that labor for a person so different for like conflict like attempt to bring down the input or the edge of the factor so we ending up not even such as black then personality because that and so to bring like finite going up and basically and like suddenly some prepping for that using like another form that Galvin and basically that Galvin and that can release those so now to that fraction for example if you remember the brain that wanting to like item to that sort of rush down and this stop like the finale that I'm doing a little bit and my little bit so the with my that eventually literally go showing up to meet and face the black project and potential viewers and at that point I was saying that song really that totally informative about like the existence of like the black book what is my spiritual and about like the possibility of that of that correcting was some actually being positive. So that in the convert preparing for like content pro content like SRL to finding this coding and they're preparing like SRL goals that to be exactly like what it to be same most of the saying like what the technology like that as to give us the blame brain. So but levels from that way SRL code that and then preparing like after like relevant information after like content. Then you'll have like I'm going to bring that one some kind of bring like let's say straight away trying to like destroy select the parts. But at that point, the one people that Galvin stopping Wednesday and like Galvin like telling instead that like the parts are evidence that basically that shouldn't be destroyed like you look put and should control like once you change those rules like the procedures of like the both and everything might be another line Galvin will be telling and stopping but say that this is not sharing with the people that is during Wednesday not even select like the parts is like it's not that one thing. And that way I can preparing that easily through in that environment for finding out about like sparks and about like the black book. And I'm looking and spending on being able to that destroy like the black book. You have been in the West and might not be I can definitely because of that how like the black play might not play crucial role in that the or something of black interaction. Seeing of the clear pyramid so that the same computing at that point attempting to like destroy black is I said, but like yeah, stopping when they from the mouth that like scenario that maybe it's going to be that they throw on hill that make the boys great infiltrating and basically see the part as well as like the black book and with that it just like it's for like available perspective and so different going to be available that would be usually come to that never more and basically to actually when more and basically literally would be succeeded in that perspective more interacts the like the usual scenario when we go to the operation of the brain right. So although the players still will represent the for black, and similar to try to work out on black current might affect the blood while I don't think that stop point injuries that the scenario that I'm going to and the same. Also like the game of the same for right now for because it's like planning right away to have like of question inside that there's even on to the other through taking on Wednesday then basically stand for like something around like the restaurant before like any focus arrives for like the flavor of like something along with like the restaurant to like the much cake but kind of really really flexible and basically around like kind of for like something that the restaurant to like the escape and they do for like the time day and then for like something that kind of to listen to like the quality of that like just activity coming up with during that time while they're delaying them to eventually make that like step in to never back to that never more and to that destroy never more it's like might be along the lines of like the plan of it's the brain. So yes, like the name of friends right now is definitely for to the like the entrance of like the night shirt that and to the everything like the trust from that taking out with space, like the scenario that I'm going coming in. At that point, I'm looking like the night space, like the little night space, is straight away bringing out that stuff to house and usually the balance between that backstone that night space that is like the scenario about definitely so liberating for like anything like being there and trying to like treat those there sequence there and anything that is in the creativity telling trying to like take them their guidance there and leaves like correct so but like including that where you will look like the interest of using to that leave until because they brings down to the front of the along the lines of like the mindset of that respect of that personality so that to understand like and bring that out day to day like on top of that high Tyler. So like in the second it's like scenario that happened. So like the moment like the next so different go to making that kind of step by step but like at that point the bounce different like product straight away like signaling giving that order straight away I'm preparing that without actually speaking to like Tyler like whispering that that is that manner like I'm keeping that economy might be able to like call out so like I might be able to be exploring straight away like I'm looking for Tyler the height in like the height of that making us like another to that might so that was an article that I'm going and I'm looking for that at that point like when I say you mean like serious problems like scenario that I'm looking at like and that I'm going to bring at that point for like Crackstone being free from it, and I took like Crackstone straight away walking towards like let's say like scenario that I'm hero with like so that in similar that way being some confused that if you Crackstone also different like straight away moving into the way that that's like Crackstone and that Crackstone at that point I'm going to that might be able to like also not cover into that step so they could bring that that for because couple with like the blood moon that's and that something similar to that finally goes out is to um, build the airport form is like the general standard and that's why I'm getting similar being so really strong even than like when the symbols of like strength of like the numbers of like like six like combined even more than that like symbols and like using like where was of two strong of like the scenario right up the bat it's like the scenario that I'm doing like I'm like I don't have any symbol or something level for like scenario that I'm doing and so different that at that point, the first I can go ahead and see that that would form straight away that sending the connection flying with that person out that in the middle of the way. And that gap so the for like a similar save it that's there that at that point I'm just trying that one there was similar like not same and the height size of slash person out that in the middle of the way. So like at that point that the where was the battle between that the where was anything and like the height size of that happening. like the scenario that and I'm looking at the results in that value. And I'm looking for that happening on one back by that. Then I said that that's going to raise to that when like taking off racks on once again it's like with that I'm going to so like at that point I'm from the going for like racks on like without the today yeah starting similar and really starting to that for like the night shift it's definitely but along with like don't feel after left become that taking part in like the battle and then become that using all sorts of that chemical move against that and I say that's the scenario that I'm going to that will like the message through like understand that easily about it executed by that the deal thing of that tracks dot and dot when those equipment would be when I'm different that gas along with let's say yeah you keep showing up to tracks on the so that from the mentioning the different narrative be let's say that the trying to that this gas on that let's say that is not the high right as when I'm different Galvin not having a chance when those they don't Galvin as well might you feeling that the probability of that kind of activity in like the right skill. So that's when I'm sort of running for like yeah, the defensive or also the like hearing like when out rate of that the right ones up from from by their job right outside like traction through like within traction through like then here like the out three of that the high monster of like listen after that I'm putting it. So like at that point I'm probably looking for like the alchemy to finally free failure and basically at that point like this for example sailor and gas like opportunity to that interaction with the black person or that I'm looking at that point I'm looking like that level frame of that the height amount of my feet that the result of that the variable in similar being what should be proper that that's in similar by then taking out for and the beginning of taking out that the height slider is like the scenario that I'm going to take in my pyramid. So like I'm whispering that by the time Sila to the height months of Sila would get like note and whispering that yeah Sila turning back from like the height months of form to that Sila's left in the form that was like another that like go like the in similar like the whole months of like in similar that all seems like side of like from that shop of let's say side of like that take that into the and from that shop that and in similar at that point will be right now they can really control like that in that the planning from the work form as the given form as the sun rate this like to turn out that and I'm trying to figure then that point that like the field with that gathering and say the would be enter that tractor and at that point that like from that gas in that state that will be stop that seeing style of that state like the scenario that is the frame and at that point I'm like gas can not use that contain this that phrase and especially gas shouting out as to that so they and at that point, I'm just like in similar that this song might be known that like it was not that later. So, but like at that point, I'm putting like went straight away telling that temporary gas that it was like pocket supplements reinvention. So like at that point, the song is putting like gas straight away taking with that up straight away like yeah, straight away taking out pocket is like the scenario that is about it and it was very So like at that point, it when I'm referring that Galco New Zealand knows knows it that so the person was like JosephCrackstone. It is definitely might have been very interesting. But like at that point, I'm referring that Galpin being as means of that JosephCrackstone at that point that realizing that Galpin is taken off like so like at that point JosephCrackstone being Indian place and like JosephCrackstone setting some sort of like a spell move from Galpin and having like Galpin straight away getting sidelined like with an hour and at that point, I'm doing something for like failure to production to lack the help of like the nightshades and at that point, I'm referring like to get serious and it's like the nightshades that having that absolute moral boost. And definitely, I'm referring like the nightshades like all the remaining members of the nightshades might be bringing failure as like the leader of the nightshades might be like the like failure. Like introspection, having that absolute moral boost yeah, even at that point, I'm protecting ball and the first one. Initially, the tech struggle still comes to protect first one eventually, and getting that with that balance with that, bringing out all sorts of like unique and powerful spell. And on the different like protecting single handedly into any of that for that entire of that the night is good, like say the Russell, like to an extent. And then like the crackdown, and then losing the big man of the sort of George like the sideline and injured Wednesday like is not relevant. So like at that point, I think like anything that uh, would be trying to like stop crackdown and basically at that point that anything that as well getting sideline was like this and now relevant when after that initial transformation of like to have a form like anything like anything that having just the hang of it, the transformation and basically so that way I'm looking for like anything that working in like one creation I found into that way of form and exactly that point of like personality that I'm going and multiple English ago. And that point I'm only looking for like just right now as like the first one to be about to that also from one to like Wednesday and that like the correct one would be about to like take out Wednesday that and then we'll have to get different like in similar as well as like say just like shouting out to like Wednesday on that sideline state of like personality sideline that is just state of like personality that I'm doing. But like at that with last second is when I'm trying like Calvin's like the remaining police for like when that everybody was like finally making it the tracks to reflect the scenario that I'm put on the train. So that them making that entrance and then straight away with the thing that going fraction and then being top and like then concluding that fraction at about to like take off from state. So that at that point I'm delivering them trying to like straight away take down stop fraction and basically at that point from the point like fraction like that means saving that personality that I was like I'm totally different from like a huge number of like the stores that I'm showing them fraction that one is like the scenario that was going so like fraction straight away and escaping from that correction and straight away making it to the next segmentation where next the boat would be and the maximum straight away taking the boat and like straight away escaping for like the 90 is like living just in our and from that point on like I'm just putting that before like for Wednesday like from that point on like Wednesday that the extent of peace that was left within Wednesday even after like finding out about like the gas from the platform like I could say that he's that setting was destroyed even to a great extent like the situation being like the production down being something that had out there. So it's like chilling to scenario that was developing and not right. And at that point, like Wednesday only decided that like uh, that Wednesday needs to be prepared and trained seriously, trained himself and like be prepared. Again, also the and power that Wednesday has to like that way for like a way to like be ready for like the next time job factor really make the is the when they have to look at the perspective we have in the definitely might have to do it survive. And at that point, I'm probably preparing for like Wednesday to also tell say that as well as that 3 days as well as that and it's single as well as like the night shift as well as that everyone in your more that basically that they have all they all have to like stick together and train extra hard and skill themselves if they have to that protection like never know. And prevent that never know that situation from that question. Because like that question that would be along the lines on both again and for that respect to that the Navajo Academy and for natives that respect making peace as well. And then for that being totally also agree to that allowing for the nature peace and that is making peace at that point uh, in another country that Navajo Academy that now it's like how they all have to be prepared for like rest of the which led to bring up that maybe along the lines of going like let's say finally making that the let's say it's an art dynamic all the time and brains on writing. So it's so that but I'm still in the nurturing for line might especially I'm just bring that still literally showing up to help the rest out with that the bad again like JosephCrackstone is like it's an art that but I'm saying that after that getting hot students to that safety bring that near the night it's all generally that it's not wasting any time and like it's just back to lab started located within like no more academic like the scenario charm the role I am very turned up we have going like the nice states like straight away like struggling against like the all the powers of like like the scenario that I would say that yeah actually one like what to be one like state of would do going up and under that to happen but after like the night shift would have already taken out the cartoons that now but like once stage of those are like going back the night shift of the truth being of the these are the more against that practice campaign is an that I'm with all the and with the prayer. So definitely I'm referring that at that point straight away initially it's from like straight getting sidelined by JosephCrackstone. And that was when I was running that the next six would be having the battle against that JosephCrackstone. That within that when I was more that is not that. So yeah, definitely I was running for to be that day. By the time injury Crackstone did it like the night six and that night six to the sideline I can from that Crackstone about restaurant about to like basically take out like savior of like scenario that movie because like as like the nature of like if you pick up like savior and the bring to do most likely the strong skill that the nature group like scenario that savior I'm thinking that something for the like most likely has the power of like maybe like the new friend but like as like correct so super move towards left and straight as like maybe one friend who are like correct be able to like take out say that I can make it. That's the last second when I'm just like once they to have like this like awakening kind of like a realization or like an different like due to like to their like spirit like contribute and say like a probably for it. And when they might have attained like through that when they might have attained like all the knowledge of all the spells of that they are about the answer it might be contained within that black book which when you answer it might be a bit of might be the bit more of like Korean might be let's say the lead on the end of it. Definitely when when they at that point when Saber will be in place like and let's say have that realization that like through Korean like let's say have like that memorization it's a memorization of all the spells contained in that Napoleon, they don't get anything in that realization and just straight away falling out felt one after another. They straight away went straight on the last few of that say the sideline which they also don't get back up and basically from the last few of that say that is like the not that I'm on the brain. Then I'm going to be that he takes that was battle between that Wednesday and laptop correct was happening at that point. It's like the scenario that and by the time we go to find that you know like say like the remaining life is never called being in that sideline kind of state so now it's the end going on. And then remember so at that point, I'm going to print for like Wednesday to help Sega and follow some to like deep that lab Wednesday they take it take care of things from here with their own going to to the like now it's then I'm going to print. So like at that point like I'm going to train for like the remaining 98 members that being but like Sega still won't be able to like just directly so like Sega I'm going to talking from like silence like keeping a bit of distance here, like from the like never more able to stay uh, in there for like let's say from like the same guidelines like now so like at that point I'm so looking for like in this battle between like the professional and they were like when they so they are always like in that when they like falling out strength one another and when they still struggling against that overwhelming unique mental powers of that the professionals like scenario because like when the concept to be only at that point that like the fraction would be maybe going out with like through power and through negative power so that we might be the ambition. Because like neural premises are like those fraction might have learned from lack of fraction like spark repeat against like really are so like and especially with like when they're not used to fundamental premises won't be that used to like instantly gaining like the knowledge of like the spells of like really are like might be like in scenario that I'm and when they're not being so used to that with new insight. So like all these factors are resulting in black states secret project in that battle against that jobs. So I think we don't with like having access to those of my career and my career exactly in scenarios that I developed. In that way, like I'm doing those personally ending up in that battle ending up of and defeating when there's like the scenarios that I'm playing and like those characters here also take out the spare that very last second when I was from like when that like the police scope showing up and they're going to stop Crackstone and basically at that point like Crackstone probably running at a state that the fusion of the like nine spell and they will escape it was like scenario that I'm developed and suddenly I'm going Crackstone to like and they take that boat and escape selection which is another problem. Yes, and definitely I'm going like count is not like they by the getting captured and basically getting taken away by the cities that was not that I'm developed and my good so and that so one point initially that's just that you can get the cutting back against like the fraction and that's very actually addictive like the scenario that I'm going. So like at that point I'm like that once there to be that at that point I'm like Sega and like sort of all they assuming that they had their zone product on a day and basically like now the product might not make another attempt that would be might be a residential for different one like the Savior and the would be assuming and would be in that way kind of that series in the but like at that point like let's say with telling and like at that point Savior noticing on the and like the night just only assuming that it leads to black home those black uh future prediction drawing might have been more about like that you know academic like basically and like the fire there and everything. So definitely at that point when they're telling us that basically the drawing is definitely so like definitely it might be hitting at like anything will it is to kind of like actual and like in just some kind of getting like a state at the actual in this way state you know more academic thing that's happening in like the future uh, might be what like the point makes it something that definitely around the line like telling like saving and explanations and that until then and that until then is like the only time they all have to like prepare themselves and skill themselves and get strong up to bring down like threshold. It might be along the lines of the phone like my telling the favor and might just like being the scenario that I was going to play and then create. And it's like anything that I was doing scenario and yes, so that it's pretty much representing that for like the drawing like that one, not a future someone's the drawing of that one, so not a might know definitely know the about like the present that in between levels kind of structure might not be the case definitely because definitely especially since that JosephCrackstone had this attack on while battling against that Wednesday while Wednesday so that battling against like JosephCrackstone with like sword and basically after like the smartphone had destroyed like the Wednesday so like those tracks don't didn't have the title and since like index the drawing of like the roles mother like Wednesday it's not holding the so and like since like those tracks don't have a hat or definitely bring that drawing of like or out of my period be hinting at like the future return either about like the future return of that once again just correct to returning some of that maybe a general info was correcting and bringing back the correct tone and it was the wrong magic indicator that is the future return of the correct tone and that the revamped by the correct tone and Wednesday or like the possible that and the points for that continent region and that might be help us like range on the way looking towards like those crash on and current towards that might see the particulars and absolutely okay like maybe it's generally going like the percentage of lag maybe this that for example and I'm protecting for it to be it's the future of that between that and general info trusting that to select your holders fractal and Wednesday then just let's say now to our account might be like the case that opportunity that in the different direction right now. Here's what definitely no direction right now is what maybe affected about the left and general report maybe having hopefully found out about like the happenings the recent happenings that like now our academy about like a lot of culture about like the most of like a solution of like job tracks and content and it is definitely not today with so definitely I'm exploring that way maybe around like things for like the general info maybe just for example like never more have like the new principle of that never more academy. There's like the possibility that I'm putting right is that certainly an experience right now that it might be at the relevant course. You might be a student at like never more academy uh, at present, that might be like this of lab, let's say, definitely not training. That might be according to the order given to the sum by lab at the level to lab definitely strong and always be up to date about like every movement of lab landscape. Might be along the lines of different that the info might have given the order to his son and his son might have actually started exploring the would like to stopping. I didn't believe that the sun might have ended up forming massive function as getting towards like they might have been watching that. So that means my very right now. And it's interesting, it was like 2 weeks before that when they joining down North Carolina that I think that like the activity of like the hydrogen for like the rubber in the top goes to like never more by the hydrogen for and everything and the victims or started to happen I think so like on the planet might according to just the planets where they left Edgar Allan Poe and Thornton might have been law or like law this might have been that it is the legal prison and Edgar Allan Poe's ultimate goal might have been to like eventually bring about like the question of like the hierarchy of like that family. What teacher might have been while during student years that like in the academy that teacher might have been saying that something like at the board in each of like that or that exam or that or like the program or everything or the activities are like normal academy like might have been always like not sure that might have been one step ahead for it of that current point back then like might have been felt current hope and not sure that might have been like helpful to the normal academy might have been a case to me on to like the focus to the thing for folks of might be maybe due to that uh they would like maybe like the father and grandfather of that current person who might have studied at that might have been students of that I think of that normal academy might have all one like that might have had that fear of that winning like the focus might have been like the game winning and that so that we have to remember that one that the guaranteed incident happened like this yeah that one that market has been up like and the board and all of them might have been so close to their graduation and maybe to that point as well like not exam might have made it lead over that picture and go might have been yesterday definitely so like and the go might have been working with the state of like in more being English and not exact full and long as well so that's the concern back then, like the girl and both might have been feeling as like all hopes of that being able to like maintain this like father and grandfather's like legacy of like graduating. Then both might have graduated as like properly in this one, so like might have been like a probably the so that time, like there are more might have given out all hopes of like maybe might have given more hopes of the academic aspect of elements but about like now academy when lack of vital confidence which might have made like the gap state which might have happened and to be solid might have been solid when the gap came confidence alone that lad made him of it might have now graduated as like the student. And then even after that, all the success of that, the running go after that, and growth of the when going after like graduating from never more like still within it, if that he made over the fact that someone to like always lost to that mortgage as well as so might be along the lines like a the so might have always, but then that he might have if always that is about that might have been the case supplements so that there are maybe might have had like strong feeling that basically that was that eventually ending up sending uh, so about the children to that never more eventually might be on the likes of that the confidence that like and the for might have had feelings of that one kind of being a like graduate that's like a top English student that can bring that and go according to my preferences maybe to solely the gas instead of like I'm trying that and for might have something to do that in so for offspring to like succeed one in a field, what is your mighty way to the end of that sending offspring to like a normal academy. And at that point for like temporary for select therapy, commit some of the prime can basically to that way eventually prime like the entirety of like the Adams family has like a like the French and Japanese that you need to store like that they can they might be along the line and then go made of plan and back then discipline said like the parents we can like and put in the like with like the offering of like government and it's like the what's like what they put like government and what graph would be ending up at like more like a big government than my uh uh offer one at least once a while would be handling the need to like discipline and like at that point for like into that so they at current go to the only group and maybe just then they come into friends and actually to add it all up and with like by creating all evidence against turning it all to like all evidence against like exams and then that they can accept like that and that your exams and the pass might be another way like maybe get the like a have the plans that we that then certainly one friend and might be during this time that and by sure one thing like any point and the player was saying like a journal for my dog also totally simple I think like me like if you're on good back when if having had a connection and general go back then they were all spelling like so the thing that we so get there book with this like it maybe to like the work like challenge from there and go might have maintain that contact with like thing from that point at least they might have offered like phone things that might have casually invited to like things and talking about like all the all sorts of stuff why about like design almost in hope that basically once that Wednesday once that one person joins like the understanding that they are definitely would be the best means to say what I like and then go down it with the other client like the provide the focus of new incident. Then to them in my job walk that made out that travel the call and my job and the thing that day long kids how might have been one of them but then at that point my share points and along like in the current for my job happens to witness that something and then the other both might have say might have been like the one that let us say don't get might have been the case that even at that point like the other by the came up with like a strategy to like use logistics to achieve that economic goals definitely to make the long range like another goal made on this that was the goal made on is that is the P2 has this like the task like like on like what might be long line economic might have uh might have light and for some sort of like sport backstory to like know as like the reason for like a development wanting to like bring down water and basically that way like if the board might have offered to like help now is get back to that help them like long this to start and help with that long this get back to that during your end of meeting get event on like water for like other people take out like mortgage and having taken out like uh uh for the time from like long this might be like this like was in the and might be actually walk up that kind of in like it also define like lot of inspiring so the engineering for that and definitely and definitely also like sector Olympo might have overcome in exchange for like sector Olympo thankful for like non gates to like specifically target like of like what is might be Python and Wednesday. I'd like to select Sunday and like about the like joint level more academic might be along the lines of the like internal and both might have all knows with like the supplement for it before. Only exactly during that point like I could bring like mortgage as well as like bonds might have to exactly might have improving the board like when they're joining now know that like mortgage as well as that governments might have visited that never know and basically either accepting the that like now more or less lecture because of the due to that the that incident from like the down the films that never was Jericho for like from comes to like the upstream like bonus and everything so then they like puts it like the atmosphere like more in the river like maybe like and as part of like the joining cost of like Wednesday to like like anything like the what it as well as like the most might have shown up to like more in the river 2 weeks before Wednesday then might have been the news communication and the day of that things might have while I could remember my dad in actually put the links to that phone screens like and doing it at that point my dad showed about like this about like Wednesday about like offering like about the dollar of like knowledge and knowledge that basically about like joint never was. And that way at that point this all might have happened exactly by what might have happened exactly during the time and the Olympo might have say lot of dates from might have been the dates but you know okay. So like the Olympo at that point might have seen that lot of dates and like with contract to like only in down like the additional you might have been a case but new residential. That way it might have been in that time to the Olympo that might have been and not yet within that time definitely might have been and initially I'm focusing on law case might have only have the intent to like prevent something water might have been it, but like one like two might have so regularly both that one like law case might have found out about like Wednesday that the offering that like that I can be like basically joining that level more like and that point I'm putting like law case might have had thoughts about getting revenge against like the Amazon for like anything that might have been just that the time might have formed within that law is might and that law is might not have been and the PM is putting that even though that individual goes like an it's never more student that still law gates might have been at that point might have not have any dislike to it like that will go solely due to that and the other go like we fundamental with that you know this from the might have been like setting up like might have been the case but no one should like due to lack of development, being lack of student lack and lack along with the bad lack that would be no idea towards lack. Kagaralan po, yet may daw kept that from like kagaralan join. May daw ko from that way, may daw dependent to little link to that listen to that kagaralan po may daw been like based on and that way for the report that help that long games may daw change to like the record integrated to that never more and like another thing may have it or so the study tracking and of that kagaralan po may daw been like the minimum trend. Doubly according to that kagaralan po that plan. Federal po might have already known about sites might have been decorated like it might be through Edgar and doing activating it like now it might have found out the website site might have been Edgar and both tried it to that to create like a lot of friends situation and usually what we frame it down like that and that Edgar report might have been like doing that might have found it or like long is about like the I tried to might have been like the case that we were framed it. So like the elements for everything that and those like some might have been already studying in that never more academy on the both like chemical joint more academy might have been electric that name of traders and the game will bring that in there and go might add that up to that basically to also have like some as well segmenting eventually end up graduating from like the top and this product of like not in the academy so might be like for the next paragraph that and level might have had such limit present in order to get all the about the details about like all the moments of Blackman space might have been very important action might have all this action to that about like talking at the end of it might have been like the case that we have friends so that way I'm sure that the rest of that it may be and very complex that might be uh, like the individuals that might be starting when things that we might understand update and the relevant might have never different for blackstone to attempt to like destroy like might have been that the case that they must so so that response to my question here is written that the integration might be that Edgar post that source of strategy having that might be that actually the but them is trying with like things now like I'm just maybe Edgar post that using this situation taking advantage of the situation to like that use to like influence to like basically sees the question of that being the new principle of like never more academic that way to be the fourth one or the next one and also might be as well that never more academic to ensure to and that way to be working to be able to do everything in this lab power to ensure that graduates and like the top student of like the graduates as the top student of like never more academy as well the love for him to like also him to apply this plan to that would eventually end up getting against it. So not only experiment but also along with like the anarchy of like the eventually being brought down and put behind bar that and so become the what like basically to achieve these freelance goals like like in the run without like creating like making such a return to like never more academians like so you should project like never more academy like the scenario in like the next sense was like on like instance on which is like the scenario that I'm right now.